Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
Got one of those stories sent to me by almost everybody. Thank you very much. From MoneyWise.com, but reported at a lot of places. Danielle Antos wrote this. 10-year-old Arizona girl sold her prized chickens for $2,100. Then Chase froze her check, closed her bank account, and told her she's not going to get the money back. Now, she did get the money back, but the story is kind of convoluted, and it makes you wonder what the bank was thinking. But the little girl's from Thatcher, Arizona. She really enjoyed it, had a lot of fun, learned a lot about chickens, her father said, talking to Arizona's Family on Your Side, which is a TV program. And he's talking about her raising chickens and bringing them to the fair. It really taught her kind of strict obedience of being out there and taking care of an animal. So after showing off the chickens at the Graham County Fair, she, like many people who show animals at the fair, put them up for auction. When the bidding was over, she managed to sell 6 chickens for a whopping $2,100. A little bit more than that, which her mother electronically deposited into her bank account. A day later, Chase Bank froze the check, then closed the account entirely. A year later, the girl had not gotten her money yet. So the mom spent hours on the phone with Chase Bank trying to figure out what happened to the girl's prize money and why the account had been closed. Chase said when bank officials checked the phone number of the Small Stock Association, which issued the check, it was out of service. That seemed suspicious to them, so they froze the funds and closed her account. Well, here's the thing, though. If you take the check from her and you now have it, or you've done something to keep that check from being cashed elsewhere, you've got to undo that. That's crazy. Their ultimate response was, sorry, she's not going to get her money back. And there's nothing we can do unless we can verify that check. So, you go, Steve, think a little harder about this. Oh, no, they did. The man from the Small Stock Association who wrote the check went to Chase to verify the check in person. He went in 3 different times to verify the check, but Chase said they could only verify it by phone. And it has to be the phone number on the check, apparently. So that number is no longer good, then the checks are no longer good, according to Chase. So Chase's actions in freezing the check and closing her account align with standard bank practices for risk management and fraud prevention under the Know Your Customer and anti-money laundering regulations. When banks encounter checks from unfamiliar sources or suspect fraud, they may flag the transaction. Freezing funds and closing accounts is a protective measure used to prevent fraud or money laundering. However, just because you have an excuse for it doesn't make it right. And I've told the story before about how I one time went into a bank with a $500 check. The teller stamped it paid and then flipped it and was, oh, wait, I can't cash this, and hands it back to me after she stamped it paid. And I said, but now the check is no good. I can't go cash it someplace else. And she goes, oh, just go get the person who wrote it to you to write you another one. Why'd you stamp it paid if you're not going to pay me? So in this situation, Chase refused to accept the issuing person's in-person verification, possibly due to policies that require verification to occur on channels they can document, such as the phone. While these steps aim to protect the bank from regulatory challenges and fraud, they can create issues when applied without consideration for unique situations, such as a child depositing $2,000. Online, several customers report issues with Chase closing accounts without recourse. A year after the fair, the little girl still had not gotten her money until the TV station called the bank. Just a few hours after the TV station contacted Chase, the bank reached out to the mother and apologized. The bank overnighted a $2,100 check to the little girl, who then put most of the money in her college fund. So they overnighted her the check. That cost them some money. But of course, they had the money the whole time. So if you're facing issues with frozen funds or closed account, there are several things that this reporter, Danielle Antos, would like you to know. Ask for a clear explanation of why they've frozen your money, and for the next steps. Sometimes providing documentation can help lift the freeze. If the initial conversation doesn't resolve the issue, ask to speak to a supervisor or a Tier 2 representative. Another resource is the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. The organization oversees and addresses consumer complaints in the financial sector, but of course it's federal. They probably get a lot of complaints. Financial institutions are expected to reply to CFPB complaints quickly, often in 15 days or less. But you can also research the banking regulator department in your state. In Arizona, residents can contact the Arizona Department of Insurance and Financial Institutions. If you feel your bank's steps were unjust, filing a complaint may help resolve the issue. Now, here it says that the mother electronically deposited it into her bank account. I'm guessing that that's where you do it with the phone, okay? Which means that she would have still had physical possession of a check. However, it could also be that she deposited it through an ATM, I guess. I don't know. And because this is what I'm curious about is, did she still have the physical check? Because if she had the physical check, she could have tried doing something else with it. If she didn't have the physical check, of course, she's out of luck. And so here it says that Chase froze the check and closed the bank account. The weird part is they closed the bank account. It's like, okay, you've got one check you can't verify. The story makes complete sense. This is not a massive money laundering operation, okay? I've mentioned before, I love that show, American Greed on MSNBC, narrated by Stacy Keach. I saw an episode yesterday about a guy down in Florida who was helping some people launder money because they had so much cash, they couldn't do anything with it, because if they did anything with it, it would look suspicious. They had tens of millions of dollars coming in, and it was piling up, and this guy goes, I can help you with that. And he had figured out a way to help them launder their money. But even so, it's usually moving gigantic amounts of money, but trying to do it in a way that'll keep it off the radar. And so a single check for $2,100 from the Small Animal Foundation, or whatever it was, Small Stock Association, a single check for $2,100 probably isn't money laundering if it's a single check. Probably. Now, you understand that banks get ripped off all the time. I've already gotten guys who work at banks who've already begun the hateful emails aimed at me because they heard the first part of this story. And they're all going to say, but Steve, we get ripped off all the time. People rip us off all the time. And you'd be amazed at what kinds of things people will do to rip us off. And so all I'm going to tell you is that if somebody walks into your bank with a check, and I'm talking about a hypothetical. Someone walks into your bank with a check and goes, here, I want you to deposit this check in my account. $2,100. You could take the check in and deposit it and just freeze the funds in the account until the check clears. But, and you're going to say somehow that doesn't quite make sense. So here's the thing. Give the person the check back. What gives you the right to take the check and keep it? And if you're not going to honor the check, give it back. Because the person could then take the check, for instance, to the bank it was drawn on if it was drawn on a different bank. And that, of course, is what I tell people who've occasionally asked me questions about things like this. I've got this check, my bank won't cash it. Well, what bank is it drawn on? Go there. Now, it's possible, I suppose, that the Small Stock Association might have a bank that's out of state, but I have a sneaky feeling it's not. It's a wacky little feeling of mine. I don't know. So it's crazy. But the one thing we don't know is who had the physical check. Because if she still had the physical check, yeah, it's a bummer they closed your account, but guess what? You don't want to do business with them, do you? You know, so now they've closed your account. Move on to another bank. So it's a 10-year-old Arizona girl sold her prize chickens for $2,100. That's good money. That ain't chicken feed. Then Chase froze the check, closed her account, and told her she's not going to get her money back, according to her mother. MoneyWise.com ran the story. Danielle Antos wrote it. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. The pain you feel today is the strength you'll feel tomorrow.